This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we got a form.
Okay, call this meeting to order. The agenda. That would help.
Unfortunately, sir.
It's not, I can't.
Oh, I don't use your arrows. We fought this the other day. I don't know that we won, but we fought it. Tony fought it. We did.
I don't think you want, because that mouse, you don't like it.
No, well,
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
we're gonna change it for any reason. Okay, all right. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? I mean, we haven't met in 2 years,
I
right?
know, so I think it's a little late to try to make changes to those,
Yeah.
because I don't remember
Because
what
like-
happened.
yeah. We've slept since.
All right, then I'll make it, and since y'all can second, but I'll make the motion that they're okay, because I was probably the only one.
Yeah.
Us two, we're the only ones that were here, so
Maybe-
still need a second.
Okay, been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Do we have any public to comment?
That's you.
No. You be the public.
You be the public.
Okay, let's go to discuss presentation of event holders disbursement of lodgers tax funds. Is that you, Vido?
That is actually the event holders who's supposed to present their,
I
Okay.
think, yeah, that was,
And nobody's here, but.
they said, everyone, you're up. So
Tom,
you should have done your public comment.
Well, I mean, I guess we're gonna go through all of them, correct?
We'll go through all of them, yeah.
Hold on, let me get to yours, that one just. Oh, I'm still scrolling, sorry. Here we go, okay.
Package that you got in front of you, I am hosting the 6th annual Cinco de Mayo event at the Chaparral Park again. We are set for May 7th of this year. Cinco de Mayo actually lands during the week, so we decided to do it on that Saturday. As some of you attend my event is very well attended. We've already got 3 bands secured, potentially with the 4th one. I've already have about 10 vendors, which normally at this event I have about 28 to 30 vendors. Haven't sent out applications quite yet.
For your vendors, but you've already got some that signed up.
Yes, absolutely. The ones, kind of my reoccurring ones that come every year have called and confirmed that we are having the event, and we are, have made contact with the Maddox Foundation. The Maddox Foundation went ahead and gave me the go-ahead to go ahead and host this year. We were kind of contingent on if we were going to get shut down again or not, but looks like we are not. So we are moving forward with the event. Everything's looking really well. We are looking for sponsors. We've got a handful of sponsors already. The event's looking good. We will be having bingo again this year. We are having the Asado cook-off. We are working with the schools right now, K through 5, to do the Bailet folklorico that we have out there, kindergarten through 5th grade, the schools teach. That usually brings in quite a few people. We plan on putting out posters, advertising, all the good stuff to make it the best event we could have. And we know everyone's kind of anxious. It's been 2 years that we haven't been able to do anything, so.
Really?
Yeah,
I've been to. So you didn't do it last year?
I haven't done it in 2 years. 2 years. Got shut down right before Cinco.
Better.
Mhm. So I literally, 2 years ago, I lost my deposits on my bands. Any questions for me?
Is Pantera, what are they?
Pantera is actually my engineering, sound, lighting, stage. all
I would have guessed.
Yeah, Pantera is putting everything, doing all the sound and engineering on it.
Okay.
So I'm not picking on you, but you're first. You came up first and see Mara joined us, but, so my thing is, I want to talk about the New Mexico GRT tax accounts. And the reason why I want to do it is because we all know that city funding and services are funded by, in large part, New Mexico GRT. So I did see in the thing that you said you were going to ensure that they pay their GRT, which we can't do that. There's no way to ensure that they're going to pay their GRT. But on your application, and I'm sure you have them in your office, is there a line that asks them for their GRT tax ID number?
It does not, but I mean, if anything, we can incorporate it. I do know that the environmental department comes out to your event and hands them packets to make sure that they submit their taxes.
So that's a different department, and that's not going to be the New Mexico GRT account. That's going to be the environmental department that takes care of their food permits. So, working for the Small Business Development Center right now, getting people started in business, is that one thing we do is ensure that they know how to set up and do a GRT account. And I know that vendors coming in from Texas can set up a New Mexico account. But if we don't have it listed on the application and do our best efforts to ensure that we're checking their numbers, and I had talked to Mara and I told her if she was strapped, I don't mind trying to check out the numbers and make sure they're accurate. Because again, we're not the police, we can't see if they're gonna pay, but they have no option to pay, and they're gonna hurt our local businesses or brick and mortars or stuff. If we're having vendors come into the area that are not at least have an account to pay into the system and help our local economy.
No, we can absolutely incorporate that. The majority of the people that I have now are actually local food trucks that I already have.
So you can call them, the 10 that you have so far, and get their GRT account numbers, and we can verify that they have actual GRT accounts.
But we have no way to verify that they actually.
Pay.
No,
Well,
of course we don't.
Yeah, you
Of course
can.
we don't.
I mean, you should be able to, look at it. But, so you just need their CRS numbers. And then.
Yeah, they changed it, now it's called GRT numbers, but
ETIN.
yeah, no.
No, this is taxation and revenue.
This is just
Sales
tax.
tax.
Sales tax, which I don't know why New Mexico calls it. I know there's reasons, but basically their sales tax number.
Yeah, no, we'll make the effort. I mean, we'll
See,
definitely.
you might talk to Christina, because the fair has the same issue with their vendors. And that's why they created the
Coins. That went by my opinion.
Yeah, that was by
No,
But-
yes.
it was a Fiesta. But that was the reason that they created that, was to be able to
Accountability.
count the, gross receipts. So you might talk to Christina and see how they are doing it now that they don't have the coins.
Maybe their application has, it's a little.
Yeah.
Well, and the first step is asking for their numbers and getting a correct number on their application. So if we can start with that step, I think it'll help our local businesses.
What about your one-day vendors that are just doing?
They still would need a New Mexico CRS number.
So me and Shannon actually had this issue, if I may. A lot of vendors were coming in to get a business license. And when they're like a mobile vendor, we do charge the 125 fee. But since these are event vendors, we talked to Patrick and it was okay for them to pay 25 per event. And so what you can do is send them to us to get a business license for the event. And on the business license, we ensure that they have to have that CRS number.
So the first step before they come to you would be to go
Get
online.
that, and we have we have a paper that gives the website and I issue it to them so that way they know where to go, or I refer them to our
I don't
website.
think the vendors have ever come and got business license.
Some have, some have been really good, but some have not. Especially the fair rodeo vendors, they do really well.
So if they need help, we are there available for anyone that does need help, and we can walk them through with the client computer, and they can sit down and we can help them file and create their accounts. give them a copy of it. They won't actually have their certificate because that comes in the mail, but they'll have their number that they can give to you to put on the application. So that way we can at least try to help not have vendors that don't have sales tax account numbers.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think any of ours have ever gotten business licenses before, unless they already had one. They might have already had one, some of
If they already have one, then yeah, they definitely do. We honestly, most of ours are like the same ones. So it's kind of like
They
all
just
of them are
remember
from
them.
here.
But we still need some kind of,
We can
they
definitely
can't,
find out.
I mean, we can't
Good.
guarantee that they're reporting, but we would like to encourage them to.
We can have it as a requirement on their forms, right?
Right. And then, if they're reoccurring vendors, you'll have their number on file if they happen to not see it, but it's easily attainable, so we should try that. Also on your request here, Cinco de Mayo, great event. I love playing bingo. And we really enjoyed that. The only thing I noticed is that your actual advertising was, what did you budget that at? I'm looking at maybe 2,500? Well,
2830.
2,830.
You know what it is? It's on that piece of paper, 2830.
So I noticed some of the other stuff came in with advertising budget was a little higher. So is there a reason that it's?
No, that's actually a very valid point, is that those numbers were technically based off of what it was 2 years ago, which I know it's a lot more now. But I just went based off of the numbers that we've ran before, but I didn't have an opportunity to ask them what their current rates are. But I mean, if anything, to offset it, we would have additional money to do that.
Okay.
We're doing the minimum on, and we're only doing 2 radio stations, which are the Hispanic radio stations and Ox.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I noticed most of your ask is the production cost, but the advertising is really low.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing I questioned about the event is that if we're gonna if we're gonna try to get people coming in, buying food, taking advantage of what Lovington has to offer, like to see lots of advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I know costs have gone up quite a bit, but I mean, if anything, we help with sponsorships.
Facebook ads are pretty still.
Oh, yeah, those are actually the ones that help us out tremendously. And then like the posters, we actually put them out in Eddy and Lee County and the surrounding Texas communities.
So you didn't put Facebook ads on here?
No, but we have a separate line item for advertising ourselves.
So you're gonna put money from EDC in for Facebook advertising?
Yes. Not trying to be greedy.
She did put it up here that that's.
Oh, I was just looking at the, where'd you see it?
And your distribution and stuff.
I
We
agree.
need a new way to do this.
We do need
And
to.
I hope that the doll, is that, I'm not saying that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The doll is gonna come up with a new way for us to do this. Because all of us are tired. It really is not cohesive.
Okay.
Is that a good word?
It's a real word.
Any other questions for me?
Okay, it does say on marketing plan, newspaper ads, Facebook ads, radio ads, and live entertainment.
Under, okay, I'm looking at
No, E.
specific details.
Yeah.
So that's on a separate thing.
Yeah, on E, marketing plan.
I know Facebook has a minimum now. Mhm. You can't just do $5 anymore.
Oh, Huh, well, I boosted something,
Don't do much advertising. so.
$45. So. Okay, yeah, what about the minimum? So it didn't tell me anything.
Anything else for me?
Okay, Molly, you're
Which one are you starting with, Nora?
Everyone y'all.
okay, Lovington.
Lovington.
Lovington, tell us what that is.
So we regularly host our annual beautification day in April. It's always kind of cold and weather's always terrible.
So we were hoping to push it towards May. Weather's starting to get better in that time. What we're really looking to do is kind of grow community pride. I feel like I'm so loud.
You're not. You're good.
And with that, it would all like be our regular community beautification day. But we're also going to be doing a community graffiti mural. It's gonna be flowers, so something simple that the community come out together and paint.
And where's it gonna be?
It's gonna be behind Patches, that area. So we're gonna be continuing out our central alley beautification in order to get people to, again, remember that they can enter through the back and that those accesses are safe and nice and that they're not shady. And for our, again, customers, especially during construction. And then we hope that it continues out as like a community pride thing. Artesia did a similar project where basically what we do is we project the image and do the outlines. And then everything would have like a number, right? So if we were doing a sunflower, then all of the outside would be yellow, which would be a 2. The inside part would be like a 1. And so everyone can come and get a paintbrush and kind of do their own piece. Yes, and so it'll really help grow community pride and bring everybody back together. And so we would also tag it as paid for by Lovington Lodgers Tax. So this would be a permanent piece that would advertise for Lovington Lodgers Tax as well.
Okay, so for advertising, you're just gonna advertise local because really it's just a Lovington
Yes.
thing. I mean, nobody else wants to come from Denver City and clean up Lovington.
Yes, well, what Artesia did tell us is that they actually had some people from like the surrounding communities just come out and paint because they were excited to come out and paint. And so they actually ended up having some people that like drove over and went there. I don't think Denver City and Seminole, but I would think that somebody from Hobbs maybe like come out and hang out with your family and you can do a paint together.
Is Hobbs gonna have their own event such as this?
I hope not.
But not on that same day. but-
No, they have nothing to do with paint stuff.
No.
I mean, they have a regular cleanup day, but I think it's like a battle between the districts or the commissioners. But yeah. Yes, Leslie.
So let me tell you a couple of things about your project. I don't like that it is attached to just Lovington and it's not reaching a wider, because again, the purpose of lodgers tax is to promote our community. Also, I always do like the way you do your advertising because you do have quite a bit of advertising for the scale of the project in there. I know the road construction is only going on for how much longer? A year, 1 year?
So a year and a half,
Okay.
if everything proceeds as it's supposed to, right? They've already had 2-week delays already. So I don't know. The other, yes, I get it, because it's time-wise, right, is what you're referencing.
Well, I'm referencing because the purpose of your project originally with the murals on the alley was to have this creation on First Street when people are traveling on First Street to actually see that the businesses are still open.
Yes, and it's also to increase community pride, right, and also do some beautification in the downtown. And so with this one, the other thing is all of our graffiti murals are actually linked with other surrounding Main Street communities. So you can do a graffiti mural trail by coming into the southeast with Roswell, Artesia, Lovington, and Carlsbad's gonna start getting in on it now too. So there is additional advertising that occurs for that. And then, yes, it is technically the biggest input or impact is going to be the construction, right? Which, if we're being serious, is really should be a really big concern because that's going to decrease GRT for the city of Lovington.
So also, you had gotten funding from New Mexico Clean and Beautiful. How's that?
Done, finished, project has been completed.
What about for this? Because didn't you get it for Beautification Day last year?
We did get it for last year, but we did not get it for this year. The reason why we were thinking the city was going to apply and last year was kind of a conflict of interest because you can only have one request per entity. So we had gone with the county, but the county was going to be requesting their own funds to do something for themselves as well. So we didn't have a fiscal agent on that project, so we did not request or submit.
For the New Mexico. So next year, are you going to resubmit for this?
Yeah, because in all reality, Central Alley is supposed to be a 4-block radius with lighting all in the back, because we do want to end up having kind of like shop locals where we close the back areas. And you get to like do wine and strolls and stuff like that. So like the overall picture is to kind of set up the environment for us to be able to do other things.
How many people do you estimate are gonna participate, not in the painting, but in the cleanup day?
I don't know, I hope a lot. I mean, I can guarantee the Boy Scouts will be there. I can guarantee at least 20 football players. The soccer team has come out. I don't know how many soccer players they have. So I can at least guarantee the youth groups.
Some years we've had 5, some years we had 55. It just depends, and I don't know what that depends on, but
May 7th is not gonna be a good time.
Isn't that the same day as
what's
Evelyn
Mother's Day
said?
weekend?
it's May
You're
7th?
having your sync with May 7th.
Yeah. So that's going to kind
So
of,
we can alter our date. I don't know why that says that. That's why I asked you, remember? I wonder if I put it in when I asked you.
I'm like, that's the same day.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't that Mother's Day weekend also?
You want to go out and
It
play
is.
cards?
And
Then we have graduation.
Graduation.
Yeah.
I got my niece.
And let me ask you, Mara, you said it's a repeat event at 300. What repeat event was it?
The beautification day portion, the cleanup.
Last year was 300?
Well, with the amount of football players and soccer team, yeah, I mean, it was over a month though, right? It wasn't a day, it was a month.
Was out there doing stuff. That was it?
Yeah,
Oh, gosh, yes.
but again, it was a month, I mean,
Let me just say.
you didn't ask timeline, you asked how many.
And what was that plant that I had to get the big things? I have to ask about what that plant is that's all over the place, but it's terrible.
The mesquite,
Yes, I hate that.
yeah, it collects our Christmas
Good.
decorations. Called white plastic trash.
So I have
You're
the
looking at
14th on my
first weekend
notes.
is hers. Next weekend's gonna be Mother's Day. Then
Yeah, so I have the 14th,
graduation coming.
I have the 14th on my notes, is what I have.
The 14th is Mother's Day weekend.
No,
No,
the 8th is Mother's Day.
yeah,
No, the 14th is graduation weekend.
no, the 22nd is graduation weekend. May 22nd is graduation.
So the 14th might work for you.
So I have in my notes. I don't know why I put the 7th. I think it's because we were talking.
Yeah.
My bad. Good call on that.
And I really like it when the city commission shows up.
I do.
I'm pretty sure you're hustled.
I was kind of nudging this one over here.
No,
That was so slick.
you're not in my district.
Ooh.
Any more questions on that one? No. You ready for smoking? Sounds good. Questions?
Yes. Kelly, are you gonna go first? You have questions?
I don't have any,
Okay.
because I'm all, I'm caught up on that. So you go ahead.
I do love your advertising, of course, because I think you are hitting Lubbock, Midland, Lubbock radio. I see a lot of posters. Again, getting back to the purpose of lodgers tax, I know that a lot of people that you have basically smoking as 2 separate events. You have like your street fair and then you have your barbecue. And I know the barbecue cook-offs, they stay in their campers. And really, if they go to the grocery store, I mean,
And fill up with gas,
Groceries are tax exempt.
As I said, gas, well, beer isn't, just saying.
Beer there, Mona.
Right.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I can't dictate what they do in their own personal property.
So that's the one thing is about the Smoke Out on the Plaza, that it would be nice, and we can get it, we can get it from Mike, from Comfort Inn and Suites, or Melissa or something, and kind of figure out actually how many people are coming in and.
We have in the past worked with them in a way that they offer like a small discount to anybody that mentions smoking on the plaza. So I'm sure that's something that we'll do again this year. I don't know if they actually like separate those, out when it comes out or whatever. But we can easily
We
talk to
have,
them.
and
about
we
that.
ourselves, the Main Street rents a room for the judge, for the barbecue judge, and for the band.
Yes, and
You
the
guys
production.
pay for that?
Yes.
Okay.
And it ends up being a minimum of at least 7 rooms for 2 nights. But
And we sometimes get a discount on that, but we do.
I have a question about the promotional items for contestants bags.
Mhm.
What are you buying?
So sometimes, and it kind of depends on how much money Lodgers gives me, because if I get a short amount, then I'm gonna spend it all on advertising and not on swag items. But our swag items can be the aprons that they wear, right? They say, paid for in part by Lovington Lodgers Tax, it says Smoking on the Plaza, Lovington, New Mexico.
That's
Sometimes-
considered a gift.
Huh?
That's considered a gift.
No, because we give them out to,
You're giving it away as a gift because you're paying for it. So that's a gift. A gift is not allowed to be used on any tax vouchers, but
so we give those out as swag items to
swag is a
everybody.
gift.
No,
Swag
they're
is a
promotional
gift.
items.
Promotional items and swags are gifts. Gifts are a no-no.
Promotional items are allowed under Lodgers Tax.
You're allowed to. I
Mm.
know that you are.
You can on t-shirts, as long as it
Absolutely.
says paid for by Lodgers
Yeah.
Tax,
That's right.
partially funded.
Because you're
by
giving them
Lodgers
away to everybody and it serves as a marketing
You're just giving
material.
it to contestants, right? The people
No,
that
I give them
barbecue.
I give them to contestants, vendors, winners, kids that come up and ask for them. I give them to.
Well, we don't even want my kids. But
The kids cute gets.
Oh, yeah, the kids.
And those are, any kid
But
can
it,
participate in
what it
that.
does is when they wear them at another event, which these people try, then they have
Travel to other things and do
advertised for
them.
us, because it says Lovington, New Mexico.
And sometimes we, the last thing we bought was the fans, and those fans are given to anybody that comes up and asks. And again, they say Lovington, New Mexico on them. And they have a Smoking on the Plaza logo, and then paid for in part by Lodgers Tax. I think if you guys wanted to go back and reword that to not include promotional items, because promotional items
It's
are.
always been included. The original ordinance that was put in by the state many years ago basically was about 2 sentences. And there was no specification on it at all. From that, then Lovington, just a few years ago, changed to this ordinance.
Mhm.
And this ordinance basically has no specification in it as to how the money's going to be used. It does say, it basically says what the money can be used for. And one of those is, to use proceeds from the occupancy tax that are required to be used to advertise, publicize, and promote, and promote tourist-related facilities and attractions and tourist-related events. That's all it says. You can use it anyway. It's just that any promotional items have to have the tagline and choose.
Paid for by Lovington Lodgers Tax.
Well, it's been done for
If
20
you
years.
only get part of the money.
Which is what happens.
So obviously, are you thinking most of the money is going into advertising? And then scale back on the promotional?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the first thing that gets honestly cut on that kind of stuff is getting promotional items, website, and then stage would be next. and then everything else stays. And then if it gets lower than that, then the amount that goes to like Hobbs would be probably reduced, Lovington would be reduced. I would keep Midland and Ludwig the same, but the other ones would definitely get shrunk.
And we also collect promotional items from local businesses within our
Swag bags.
fund.
Yes. Those,
And those would cost us.
no, money's not used.
No.
No.
It's not required.
You and Apple did very well. Is that all?
You're
Okay, thank you.
Chairman.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
And I guess there's not.
The others are here. Does anybody want to review those? Anybody have any questions? Okay.
So High Plains Junior Rodeo Association, here's my problems with this one. Is that on their description of where the itemized listing of where lodgers tax funds will be used, they're putting advertising Lee County. Again, going back to Betty's point on contestant jackets for $10,136 and advertising Lee County on all round saddles. I don't see where,
Say specifically Ludington.
correct. The
But it's
other,
held in Ludington, so that would bring, those people will be in Ludington.
Can they do shop at Chibo's and
The speed store.
feed store
Yeah.
because you gotta have clothes and you gotta have feed.
And these people generally stay in their,
Horse trading.
so they don't,
some of them do, some of them do
Some
not
of them
stay.
stay in hotels.
right.
Because
But they eat at the restaurant.
So basically, if we do put any money towards the junior rodeo, is it junior rodeo?
yes,
Yes.
Highlands Junior Rodeo Association.
I think it should specify Lovington on any swag items if we are funding swag items. It should say Lovington on there.
It could even say Lovington, Lee County, but it's not, it says Lovington.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lovington and Lee County. And also, I know they stay a lot at fairgrounds. So again, it's not putting, I think it's another thing. When's their event?
In,
May 7th.
Yeah, and Wyatt told me about that because I had asked Wyatt that I needed him to come help me that day. And he told me that he wasn't going to be able to help me because he was going to be junior rodeo. May
Wow.
7th is popular.
Yeah.
well, it's so close into the school year.
Oh, the restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
And I also think if we are gonna do it, it's that we should have them fill out overnight lodging forms. So we can at least track where they're staying and if it's an event that, if we should continue doing the rodeo stuff.
I think
Well, this will be the first time because last year was the first year they've been back to Lovington and
Yeah, we had it, then we lost it for a few years.
Yeah.
and it's back.
Yeah, but we had the high school.
funds.
mhm,
And again, while
We
they
had
worked
we
and
lost it.
bought gas and all that,
Oh, there was a lot
the
of
lodging
them.
did not really come in. Again, I mean, and some
They do.
people stay because it's booked out, not all of them. But they do stay,
Yeah, when you
because some of them
got-
just get their horses out there and go stay at the hotel. But I mean, they have pins.
And they didn't really, but I think if we had a couple of things that they should put Lovington on there and have them fill out an overnight lodging.
Okay.
So we can kind of track it and see that the money's being spent to, again, advertise Lovington.
And they didn't sign it. So I'm trying to see who was requesting, but they didn't sign.
For the new,
She sent it to email. Who sent it to email?
Who was it?
board members,
She gonna go check the email.
Got a fish charging me.
for our new board members, this is my last meeting, by the way, so. The original intent of lodger's tax was to provide a fund that would encourage overnight stays from which it is generated. And unfortunately, in Lovington, New Mexico, if you take away the fair and rodeo and a couple other events,
We don't have a lot.
we're not going to have a lot of events that are going to incorporate overnight stays. So just for your, from this point forward, just remember that gas, meals, things along that line, do not replenish this fund in any form, in any fashion. And I know that, this is how the museum and I always kind of got crossways. Because while it does occur, and that helps the GRT of Lovington, which helps fund these organizations also, in addition to this tax, truthfully, the focus should be on overnight stays. So keep that in mind. We want to replenish the fund, and if at the highlight, whenever we say we could average $100 a night for a hotel stay, then effectively $5, but that's what our percentage is, a 5 of 100, goes towards this fund, and for every $1,000 that they ask for, to replenish that would take 200 hotel rooms. So nobody ever comes anywhere close to that. And a lot of it is just based on goodwill of Lovington. So I like your comments that let's promote Lovington if we're going to fund, okay?
Well, I agree because you guys have not met in almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So it's time to kind of strategically plan how we're going to go into the future
Absolutely.
and increase not only tax base, which doesn't replenish, but also put those heads in beds, which is what we need for.
Lodging tax funds.
Well, and if a new hotel's coming in, we want to have something for especially that they're bringing in. We want them to know that we are really actively helping that industry also.
Correct.
So, again, it's a time to strategically.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking you to come up with a better way
To evaluate them.
to evaluate, well, not to just to evaluate, but to fund.
Mhm.
Okay.
And this voting on it is just, okay, so I'll just tell you, if I'm Mata or when Leslie was at the chamber, the museum, if I wanted 5,000, I requested 10.
And we all know
And
that.
we're
So,
tired.
and that's how it
I
works.
agree, Kelly, and we're tired of the overinflated requests coming in because everyone knows it gets stuck in a formula, spit out of that formula at 40, 50, 60, 70%, and that's how they're funding it.
So we just
we're
need
tired
a
of
new
that.
way to do it.
Amen to that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board,
Yeah.
should we do away with the evaluation and
Yes.
allow the board to decide?
Well, that's how we used to do it.
No.
Yeah, but it's not that easy.
I'm not saying to do away, maybe change the evaluation so it's not automatically generated, that it's gonna come out at 70%, or whatever it's at, but maybe do an evaluation based on some different criteria.
Yeah, because this way, we've been doing it this way for 5 years, 4 years,
Mhm.
5 years. And it really, at first, it kind of solves the problem we were
That
having.
we were having, but then they figured out if you just request more money,
Right.
then you get a percentage of that more money, which lands you where you want to be. We all understand. I mean, I promise you, I was the one that requested to come up with an evaluation. And even then, and I'm gonna pick on, he's not here, the museum curator, whatever his official title was at the time. He learned to work the system no matter what. If it wasn't more, it was more requests. It was just a lot of different things. And I'm suggesting to you, as y'all move forward into the future, please come up with a system that will work for them. It'll work for people that would like to.
Maybe see how other cities do it.
Exactly.
Hobbs does it once a year.
Yes.
They only meet.
No,
on-
that's not true.
Okay.
They do one big one at the first of the year. You have to have your request in then.
Yeah.
But then they meet every quarter and they evaluate those requests because of the time frame that they come.
Okay.
But they go through one big meeting where it kind of sets aside so much money.
Yeah, you check
And then
homes.
the city manager has the ability to
How they do it?
fund up to a certain amount. I think it was
The vicinity.
$5,000.
Alms, Carlsbad,
And
Artesia,
Roswell.
Roswell, those would be, playground of,
Mhm.
they have more hotels and stuff than we do, but, you know.
And if you look at the ordinance, I mean, I know that there's some things on here besides event promotion, it's also some upkeep to facilities
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that, welcome center, auditoriums, tourist information centers, museums and stuff, so. I
That's
just
what it
think
can
that
be used for.
Right, so based on what's coming in and what we see in the future, maybe we do need to evaluate different.
Yes, ma'am.
I would also update the request for funding because it kind of doesn't give you the information you really need.
It doesn't, and it's kind of all jumbled together because like you have one thing and there's two different things that
Parts.
don't really go together, so, yeah.
And I would like to not give points. I don't know, come up with.
Another task that you obviously
You don't
don't
have
have,
anything else?
you don't have anything to do.
What is it?
It won't be
What
for
quarter?
June.
3 months.
June.
Yeah,
And it's not easy and effectively, for the most part, the people that are represented today will typically always be here. There will be some others, but,
Chamber will be here if we ever.
well, then we'll have balls,
Where are we at?
ball programs.
Well,
Yes,
or
there's gonna be
trying
things
to-
come along that other people will be.
Might do
Wildcat.
request for
Wildcat.
sandwich
Wall.
balls and
Yeah,
Wow.
they come
And
in,
I told him to be exact and not inflate it, so the chamber did put in.
Mine's exact too. Mine's actually exact. Mine's not inflated.
If you give me all of that money, I will
Not
spend all of it.
Ah, okay, man.
Mine's exact. That's how much my production is
Well,
actually.
it just, like Evelyn's event is huge. It's bigger than smoking, as far as bringing in people.
yeah, because it does bring in a lot of people.
Now,
And it's a one-day event.
let me ask you, Evelyn, are you gonna have city services at all?
That's a good question. I'd be down on money to have. I
Because I know that,
never get city service.
Main Street, so over the last year, Party in the Park went on, there was not any city services. I know Smoking on the Plaza went on, there was no city services. And the Heart of Lee County Fest, there was no city services. And I know that if you're doing overtime and all kinds of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I think we.
We
need
did
to
have
kind of-
police presence at smoking.
We
But
did,
what
no,
was
that
that?
was part of Lee County Fest.
What, smoking, we
That was
didn't
part
have
of-
any police at smoking?
There was service.
Yeah,
Oh, that was county, okay.
Yep.
But the city was there at the heart of Lee County because the guy from Mohawk hanging in the machete.
they had limited appearances, right? For Hardin County, they did.
But they were working off, from what I understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
they were not,
Overtime, they were on their shift.
they were not on their shift.
They weren't on their shift, but they were uniformed.
And at my event, I have police, I have sheriff, and I have state police. That's how big it is. 'Cause I
But
have all
how
three.
much police are you gonna get this time?
Well, we actually have a meeting set up 3 weeks prior to the event. They bring in someone from the sheriff, everybody's department comes in to see and to let me know what they can provide. They let me know what they can provide. And like the 6 years that I've had it at the park, I've always been a city employee. There's always two that are out there throughout the whole day throwing trashes, making sure the bathrooms are stocked up, toilet paper.
But are we gonna have it, are you gonna
I
have
don't
it this
know.
year?
I have no idea. I don't know.
You know,
There,
The
get that.
You're in the street. I'm
reason
gonna
you
see.
didn't have it was from former chief of police. I can tell you what. I know exactly why.
That was after he was not here.
That would have been, well, I don't know. You had an event since
Yes.
whatever it was,
Mhm.
April of last year.
Well,
then
I
that'd be.
smoking on the plaza when we first started. This is our 13th year, 14th.
12.
Police had their trailer up there.
Mm-hmm.
There was a police presence. They were parked at the place.
Okay.
We have not had that in 5 years, 3 years.
So I guess it also depends on the city and their budget.
Well, yeah, because the other thing that they used to provide us with was trash bags and then sandbags. And then we would get somebody from roads that would come through and help at the end, like help kind of get everything together. We
Well,
haven't had that in the last 3 years either.
And they would help dump the trash cans too. But now we get the
Football players, which is fine. I mean, honestly, the biggest concern was PD. That I really wish we had had more of.
And
We
we
did have state and sheriff there, but state left and they weren't there at night. We only had sheriff at night.
Are you having a beer garden?
Yes.
How much security are you gonna have for that beer garden?
I think they said they were bringing 3.
Is the Lovington Inn does?
Yes.
3 plus the 2 bartenders, 3.
There'll be 3, I believe there's a minimum of 3 officials as far as.
3 per 100.
There's a formula.
Yeah.
I can't remember the formula right off the top of my head, but it'll be whatever that's required. They
Yes,
have to have
correct.
those.
Yeah.
And then
They
you'll have
provide that.
servers, but they're no part. of
So how many people are you estimating in the beer garden?
In the beer garden, probably 2 years ago, if I had like 300 people in the beer garden, it was massive.
So most of them aren't going in the beer garden.
No.
No.
No. I mean, people.
They take
go in,
visits,
come out.
yeah, they go
come
in.
out, Go in, come out.
Any other questions? We want to go to the chambers?
I'm good. Sounds fun.
Yeah. By-
Sandwich boards, I agree, we need pretty nice sandwich boards, I'm all for that. I had one at my thrift store and Leanne took it and Casey did it. No, it's really cute. She did it, I mean, like within 2 hours, she had it, it's so cute.
How do they do that? I know.
Yeah, I mean, even, I looked at something, I can do that.
You want to know what I felt their request was pretty reasonable, and for the first time in my, whatever, I voted, I gave them 100 points. I really did. They didn't meet every point, but I thought the request was reasonable, and it was dedicated to advertising events, so that's how I feel about this particular request.
Okay, Mike is comforted. Who's Mike?
Mike Fargan, yes. He's he's the guy that I said, for my replacement to reach out. I actually got Melissa Bonds. She will take it, or I said to reach out to Mike and see, and then if Khalid wants to back off, or
And I'll text Mike and ask him to.
I think it would be a,
Jamie, follow up on that to see who wants to be replaced him. If Khalid wants to stay, he texted me and said he got caught up.
But you had to put that out, right?
Yeah, so we'll put it on commission agenda, discussion, advertise, and then approval. It's like a
Okay.
2 meeting.
3 meetings.
but you need one of the representatives of the 2 hotels.
Yes, we did.
You actually need both of them to actually meet
And that's
the
why
requirements.
Khalid was on here, was representing the Comfort Inn when he owned it.
Yeah.
He no longer owns it, so,
And I no longer own the 1110,
Yes.
so you have no representation from either one of the hotels.
or a restaurant. So,
Oh, sure.
But
And-
who's
I don't know any.
who's gonna
yeah,
have,
but you.
who's gonna have the new hotel?
There will. There will be.
Okay.
Probably not.
Okay, there's no other requests, right?
Correct.
Okay, so before we go to action items, I have, Melissa has some stuff to ask, and so do I, and this will be to you.
Okay,
Okay, so I want what did you call it?
Forensic. accounting.
Forensic accounting. I want to see a line by line. Income and outgo. 12/31/2020, is that what we said?
19.
19. In this fund. I have a suspicion, I can't prove it, but I suspect that money was spent out of here by the city. Not so. Not your fault. You're
Not
just,
Connie's fault.
not Tony's fault. It just happened. And I just have a suspicion. I can't prove it, but I did look at last year's audit and, an audit takes everything and goes, whoop, and this one line. I want to see what's in that line. Where that 52,000, it just says spent 52,000 on something. On what?
So you basically want, starting with the balance sheet,
Yeah,
12/31/2019, and you want a history of the deposits and withdrawals.
yes.
Since we haven't met, the withdrawal should have only been for the
For the chamber,
that we allowed,
yes.
that we met on, and then any
Yes.
ongoing, which would be the chamber, the museum, and the.
So to
Main Street.
update you,
Yes, thank you.
12 years ago, we voted in to fund, first started with the museum, the chamber. We funded the chamber
Oh, well, it's been 20 years,
$1,000 a month first, so $3,000 a quarter.
$3,000 a
It
quarter.
started that way many years ago.
Yeah.
I've been on this board. Anyway.
I've been involved with it for 20 years.
Yeah, so, that was the first funding that we voted to just automatically come out every month to go to the chamber. So then,
And the only time that
3
that
years
was not
ago-
done was when Ray Lynn was in there. They actually did not take that funding at one point during her tenure.
Yeah.
She had other money, so
So, down the road, down through the years, we added to fund we gave the chamber more money. And we gave Main Street. So originally it was $50,000 each a year.
not in this fund.
Not all.
Not all from this fund, but the city was $50,000. Half of it came from this fund. So 25,000 each
okay.
organization. Then we added where we gave the museum, what is it?
10,000, and I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I'm not gonna say we didn't vote on it, but I don't remember.
I don't remember ever.
You did not vote on it because it came in front of the city commission. And I believe they voted correct on a professional service agreement.
But shouldn't the request for lodger's tax money come through the lodger's tax board? Why did the museum not request? it?
Well, Do you guys look at the professional service agreement for the 3 organizations every year?
No, we just,
And I checked it right before the museum one, and it did say lodger's tax money on the professional service agreement for museum.
But it did not come from you. You did not vote on it.
I did not vote on that.
But the
We
city,
did vote on the chambers and we did vote on Main Streets, but we did never vote on.
but the city has the ability
To do that, yes,
to do this. Okay, so because Cobb does the same thing. They take a portion, it does not come before this board for approval. It is, as it states, can be used for this.
right.
They took it just like then James was the one that said all this stuff. So I know we didn't vote on it.
But it's okay to do it, but I want you to know that those 3 come out off the top. Okay, and that should be, in the last 2 years,
That's been.
it's coming out of this fund. Is those 3 things.
Did we need?
No, you should have had the
Fireworks have always come out of
the
it.
fireworks,
I know.
Well,
public safety.
But a few years, yes.
Ms. Kennedy is our finance director for the city, and I would like for her to explain the process if to conduct an audit or an investigation
Okay,
into
so
this fund?
there is a such thing as requesting a lodger's tax audit. It is in the ordinance. Here's my rub on that. We've never had an audit done because nothing against anybody in any motel business, not Robbie, not anybody. You throw the Western View, what's it called?
That's it.
Okay, let's just say, do they even report?
They do,
Okay.
but
But if
nobody.
you know, if you send an auditor to audit their books, they're going to show you what they want you to see. So what good is that going to do? It's wasting her time. It's wasting the city's time because they're only going to show you. Now, Lovington Inn and Comfort Inn, I don't think do that.
Okay, so let me rephrase, let me use different words. The city will look into it, but I want her to explain what are the
What you
specific.
can and can't do.
Okay, so this is actually a two-part thing, and I was aware of the need of a lodger's tax audit on the lodger side, because I recognize that it is a honor system, the way that we have it set up, and if they just don't happen to wander in here and pay it, we
Well, they
don't
send it
have
to
any.
state taxation and revenue.
Well, actually, what's happened is we just have a form and they fill it out and they write their gross receipts on that form. And then there's a 5% calculation. And so that's what I mean about the honor system. You know, they could give us any number they want. I feel like an audit on that side, the way it's done now and the way it's required by the state DFA does handle those audits. They only ask for a sample and they only want to from Lovington every year. And I noticed Lovington Inn got it every year, probably because they knew they would find a good finding and it wouldn't be a big deal. And I think that that's going to create dishonesty because you've got your other, lodgers that are never expecting an audit. They've never had one, so.
They're not gonna have, but like, again, it won't do any good.
So, but I am required to do that on that side. Like I said, random sample two that is coming up here pretty soon, that I have to send to the DFA.
Okay.
So, I had already kind of, when she notified me of this, meeting, I'd already kind of been gathering things. We had files kind of scattered around and, it looks like we're missing a lot. And so when I do that audit, it's going to take some time, but I do plan on going back to.
But not the auditing of the lodgers.
Right.
Auditing of the fund.
Okay, so that all just kind of rolls into the entire job that I'm doing right now. So lodgers tax is one of 700 funds within our organization. 700 funds is not necessary, so we have to boil that down to, say, 500 funds for one thing, because we have created this dilution of our money, and the girls aren't always aware of which fund, and so they create a new one, and so it's just kind of this monster. But right now, we are still working on our audit, our big audit, because we have to reconcile accounts, and I'll explain what reconcile means. So we are really good about spending our money. And while there wasn't a finance director here, that was going on. We were still making our expenses, paying our expenses. What wasn't really happening efficiently was money coming in, wasn't being allocated to the funds. And so we've got, to all the different funds, so including police and everybody else. We have to start there to figure out where every fund balance should be. Lodgers tax, and I did go specifically ask before this meeting, that was somewhat isolated from that issue. So thank goodness for that. And the reason is because, generally speaking, they come into the water department right there at the window and they pay their lodgers tax bill.
So they don't pay it to taxation revenue.
Nope.
No,
never did.
no, they walk
It's
in.
straight in
or it comes in the mail or whatever.
But,
And so those all end up with my two girls in the accounting department. And those two girls will prepare a deposit to take to the bank. And then they have to enter the deposit. And so, and they know that it goes into that lodger's tax fund. So that's why I mean it was isolated from a fund issue. Now, what's not isolated is our pooled account system allowed for too much money to be liberally moved around, and that's what we need to look at. I have the same problem with the LEDA fund. We have to do the same thing with theirs and it started with the allocation question because the GRT is where that funding comes from. It just comes in an ACH, goes to our bank
yeah,
account.
but you have no way, the state cannot tell you.
Mhm.
They can't give you a printout and tell you, this is your gross receipts from this business that comes into them.
No, I don't know that there's any way. And so we'll always be a little bit prone to that. You know, we had the conversation early in the meeting about, you know, and this is cash money at Cinco de Mayo. They're not going to report how much cash they made that day. You know,
They might report some,
yeah.
but inaccurate.
So,
No, and so we have that issue. You know, one way that we can do something about it would be to maybe, you know, start to impose penalties, late fees, stuff like that. And so if you have somebody that's actually checking this and you catch somebody not paying one or something, if the penalty's hefty, then they might get right back on the right track.
Penalties or late fees on what?
So if I go back and I assess that I've got a hotel that paid 6 out of 12 months.
Oh, okay, you're talking
Yeah.
about the lodgers.
And then, so there's that, and then that goes directly to the lodger's
Because you
tax
didn't make
fund.
$200 that month.
Yeah, and so this meeting is meant to, it's meant to control the outflow of that money, but in our pooled account, it's prone to getting paid from. And so, yes, I mean, I'm finding things like that.
You're not wanting really an outside audit on the,
No, just not gonna do it again.
you just want an
Internal.
internal audit and
I want to know what went in and what came out in the last 3 years.
Since 2019.
Yeah.
Since December.
So all of 20 and all of 21.
So what we need to do before, I mean, we could do expenses and we can do that, but that's not going to give us we'll never get back to the number that's in there now until we've finished the process of reconciling the account to make sure that basically what the bank shows went in and out. And then we have to do the separate allocation in and out of the fund. So once we can get to the point where we're able to start balancing fund by fund, instead of just because we have the one operating account that we have to balance to the account.
Do
The
they
bank
not have each, I don't know, can't even, I don't know, accounting is. But do they not have a separate like checking account? for Rogers?
No.
It's all in one big checking.
Correct.
Yes, and I'm more familiar with, you know, more conventional accounting, even sub-accounting is a lot more.
Yeah.
The transactions are harder to do because you're actually moving money between accounts and you're involving the bank. And that's, I think, the primary reason why governments use the pooled accounting systems to, you know, alleviate that.
And
But
typically you don't want.
we just have,
No,
but you can do the sub-accounting where you're not actually doing that. And all of it is somewhat mimicked after what the state DFA reporting is, you know, because we have to report to them
Right.
what all these fund balances are and the change in cash and all, you know, there's just a lot of different things. And, you know, actually I didn't finish that report because we're just struggling really hard to get a lot of these accounts reconciled. And
so
I
saying
have
that you
kind of a
cannot
set.
that you cannot give us this until after you reconcile?
I can give, so I came up, I've just looked up the fund balance which was just shy of 75,000. But what she's asking for an audit
Right.
is I have to look and see where that money came from, how it grew up to that
So
number.
how did we get from the balance of 12/31,
Yes.
2019?
Yeah, and
to
that's
that
more a
That's what I
You're
forensic
saying
audit
that you
type thing.
cannot do that.
I can pull the expenses and revenues.
Okay.
That would be simple, but that's not gonna be the whole story. And so
Because
what,
then what she's
But
saying
it's
is somebody
dark,
could have
right?
pulled money out of the
Yes.
fund for something else, or it got posted wrong.
yes, and if there is
To the wrong fund.
if there is a journal entry that was done, there wasn't always a good description
Right.
written. And so when I look in our system, I may see a figure, I may see, that it left, but then you have to go find where it went to. And without that paper trail and without a good description, then yes, you're literally getting into balancing.
Yeah,
And that's where, yeah, so I mean, I could give you some superficial information, but that's the difference between an audit and a forensic audit too.
So we can start with the basics first, right?
Which is
The
the
next time.
what came in, what went out.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
Okay.
then
I
if
think
we
that's
have,
what she did. That's how she arrived at the number she got
Yes.
today.
yes.
That's the basics.
But, obviously, like without putting your expenses over these, I don't know what's an eligible expense.
yeah, no, you don't.
If
That's
there's
what we want
not
to see.
something that you're
If
recognizing.
somebody did post it to the wrong fund when they spent something, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that would need to be somewhere down the line, a journal entry. Somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether you create the journal entries or the auditor. does it.
Yes, and
I
then
don't know who does journal entries.
the actual physical paper journal entries are. Am I?
Who authorizes journal entries?
Well, a journal entry, was done by the finance director, but I mean, they're technically can be authorized by anybody that's got expense.
Right,
Yeah.
I just wondered who, the chain there, because, not every person that works in the city should be able to go in and do a journal. To me, journal entries are very specific oriented.
Well, and I mean, it's not like it would
Unless you get to see.
sneak in. Yeah, it's not gonna sneak in
Well,
somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was 25 or 30 is what we, but obviously we're
You know,
do what,
yeah.
Yeah.
Madam,
But not yet.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we will work on your request and we will provide that information.
Okay, it's just nothing to do with anybody, I'm not putting
No, that's
a
okay.
finger at anything.
I understand.
Just curious, want to know.
Yes.
Okay, is that what you wanted? Is there anything else, Leslie?
No, there's not. My scroll.
If you ever, down the road, ever go out and actually audit, the reason it was simple to go with the two that they kept choosing was they have electronic or digital check-ins and whatever. They have a ledger, a book, thank you.
Yes.
Anyway, but you can, it's not in the ordinance, but you could, if you did an audit, you could ask them for their gross receipts report for that month and make sure that at least the gross number, and especially now since our governor has basically disallowed 30-day, used to, if they stayed at a hotel for 30 days or more, then it was like renting an apartment. And we could make a side note that they're gonna be here for 60 days or 90 days or whatever. So they're exempt from from lodger's tax.
Right.
But since they've taken that away, then their gross should be their gross, no matter what. And, that's just down the road. And if you wanna do, well, there's really only one, so there's two others, but I'm not sure budget 7
Well,
has equal.
but I can promise you that report.
Max.
Anyway,
Actually, Max The three that are left are probably the most legit there
Yeah,
are.
Max, Legacy, and
And-
Income.
And the company, because budget 7 doesn't do much, and I guarantee you, he does.
Western.
And the Western End, I don't even believe it's open, so.
And technically, I do know how to capture the cash. I've had extensive financing experience in hospitality, and you can back into that number using ADRs and occupancies.
Absolutely.
So yes, there's actually a way to do it. And if I felt like there was a need, if I felt like there was a heavy cash facility, then it might warrant that, and just to kind of keep them on the know that I'm watching.
I think like Western End or Budget 7, if you go and ask them for copies of the gross receipts reports that they turn into the state, it's gonna match whatever, if ever they turn it into here.
True.
Because they're not, that's what they're turning into the state too, because they don't want to pay for it.
But their contributions to the whole fund over the
Very
years
minimal.
has been very minimal. And that's another reason that it really hasn't been that big a deal at this point. Because
Auditing them over.
200 or 300 bucks or something like that.
Are they paying?
We do have a lot of files in there for RV parks, and I was discussing that with Laura today. She's just about to go do a inspection.
Yes.
Yes.
Because we have some ordinances that deal with
We didn't.
grounds maintenance and some other things. And she was gonna go do those inspections, and she came to ask me if there was something that I needed her looking at. And I said, yeah, just ask them if they have that book and let them show it to you. And then tell them I'll be around, so I said, tell them I'm mean. And so she goes, okay, that'll work. And so, but yeah, because I did tell her, I said, I do have to do my own audit. We're just about to get into budgets, and so I don't know when that's gonna happen. I probably have to do just the bare minimum to get it done to send to the state. But, I'm looking under every rock to find money to get back into the city budget. And so that's one of the rocks I gotta look under.
Okay.
Okay, you have at least 4 people here.
Oh, I thought I was waiting for her.
I know, I'm not including him, I mean,
How much I'm getting.
right, and we're ahead with us. So let's finish that part of the meeting.
Sorry. Okay, so we'll go to the action items then.
Did you want her to present the financial report or no?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of a non-discussion.
Okay, I'll go through it quickly.
Non-insurance.
So I mentioned the just shy of 75,000, that's through 12/31, which is only halfway through our fiscal year. So we just used some round numbers here and figured estimated revenues for the whole fiscal year is 150 divided by the 4 quarters. We don't have actual numbers because of what happened in the first and second quarter. But we're looking at the third quarter now, so if you want to go to that column.
Explain that to me, what happened in the first and second.
Since we didn't have this meeting and we weren't doing this funding, and that's one of the things I need to look at on the expenses, is that the first quarter, there was the 4375 to chamber, 4375 chamber, and so on, or to Main Street, 2500 to museum. Did that transfer actually take place in the first and second quarter? I'm betting probably not. I don't know. Okay, so it just depends on if that transfer was made.
Yeah.
And since we went a long period of time without anybody doing that stuff, it's not an automated process. And so, yes, I'd have to look and make sure that happened, that it matches up with the expenses. But the third quarter is what we're looking at today. So the same 4375 for chamber, 4375 Main Street, 25 to museum. The level amount that the July 4th is in there at 1,062. And the public safety transfer is based on a 10% of the revenue per year. So 10% of 100.
Did y'all find that? Because at the report we looked at, it was substantial.
Since we have a little bit more this year, that's why we got the 10%. There wasn't an actual calculation. It was just half of what we got, but this year we're projected to get quite a bit more, so.
No, I just wondering, I mean, that's,
So we just took the 15 and divided it amongst the 2 quarters that are
Remaining.
left. So since that didn't actually take place in the first or second quarter. And so that brings us to the event request. So we just needed to, play with that number there. So we went to this other spreadsheet and, listed the projects and what they've requested. The evaluation average came from your input. And so y'all came up with this potential funding of 38,000. What we did on this first, I had this column added, by the way, the advertising only column, there's actually 40,888 that was eligible for advertising. But the maximum recommended funding is maxed out based on
the number is
either,
50.
yeah. So it, like for the first line, the Loving-Lovington, the maximum funding was maxed out at 2,000 because that's all the advertising that we found from the application. The 10,222 maximum funding is based on splitting that 40,000 or 40% per year event request amongst the 2 larger requests. And 2830, same thing, they maxed out of their advertising. And then the 1710, same thing, maxed out on the advertising. So we come up with a recommended funding of about 27,000. And when we backed that into the amount of, I guess, typical funding from the total, we came up with a real nice, almost 50% amount. So we can take that next, it actually leaves about, 34,000 available for next quarter.
But you also have the revenues for next quarter.
Yes,
So this is a
that's,
baseline, not for next quarter, it's just to keep a balance in the,
yeah,
let's just say,
because 60 and 60 would be 120 of the 150. So we would still leave just a little bit of a cushion in there, still be using about 75% of the fund.
now you said the maximum recommended funding came from the advertising. Why did you state that as from just advertising?
Yeah, we never did that.
It was never,
I mean, is it only eligible for advertising?
No, anything to do with the event is eligible.
Is
As long as
there
it
an
meets.
ordinance? Where did there's an
That
ordinance?
comes from the ordinance.
Okay.
It says, that's what I read earlier, it states,
It doesn't have to be used just for,
right.
any promotional also. So this advertising only that's I asked.
Okay, the way it states in the ordinance, I can understand, it says that are required to be used to advertise, publicize and promote. And the promote is it doesn't say advertising to promote, it's all listed in there. And promote tourist related facilities, attractions and tourist related events. It's not designed just for advertising. It's designed for pretty much anything to do with the event, except cannot be used for salaries or anything.
Concert.
Right.
Let me ask you, on the maximum recommended funding at 26,984, that's what you recommend to spend for these events for this quarter, correct?
Yes.
For the coming total.
For the
Right, okay.
Okay, I have,
But
And that's
we capped it off based on the advertising numbers.
so I estimated 29,296 for events for this quarter. So what would you say if we just not had that category for advertising, but just for the events for this quarter, what would you recommend to for the events?
That still keeps us with, it still keeps us with a good cushion. It keeps us with a good, what remaining balance for the fourth quarter.
So what amount?
And, we can go up a little based on, ultimately it's the decision of the board, but, this is, I guess, the heavy quarter for events. So if we want to spend a little more on this quarter.
Not
Because we have fair and rodeo.
Fair and rodeo.
But, to be fair, the fair and rodeo, we don't ask for money from the lodger's tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
The fair and rodeo,
Yes.
we never.
Yeah, we do. We do a lot.
A little bit.
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
Okay, so
3 or 4
the
years.
fair go would take place in the first quarter. Is that right? Our first.
Oh,
fiscal-
their
They
first
would ask
quarter.
for they would ask
Yeah.
for June.
For-
Yeah, so we're basing these quarters on our fiscal year.
Okay.
But if
And
the
I know-
requests come in the fourth.
But you still
quarter,
have Party at the Park,
Right.
which is July 4th.
Mhm. That'd come in.
But you have to get, they try to get their advertising.
So it'll come in, but it would start in June.
So what's the amount what is the dollar amount that you recommend for this quarter?
If we're not cutting it off based on the advertising
Correct.
figure, then,
It would be the 63.
No,
no, we wouldn't want to
38.
take that much. I'd say it'd be closer to about 35, because that would allow,
And that's
still a good fourth quarter number and a good cushion.
And that would also, that's besides the dedicated funding to Main Street Museum Chamber,
That is,
besides their funding.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah, their total funding is somewhere around
So you would
18
think,
to 19,000.
okay, so you would think 35,000 for this quarter would be good to fund these events? Okay.
So here's what I didn't like about the advertising on
Where
the
does-
part. Only giving EDC $2,830, a huge event.
right, because their largest expense was the
Right.
The stage and
promotion,
production.
yeah, the production companies.
And the stage and production can be paid for by lodger's tax? Okay.
Yeah.
So
You can't pay for the act, you could only pay for the
That's right,
the equipment.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that cut EDC out of, yeah, and then gave High Plains 14,500. High Plains just brings in people, not near as many as Smoking on the Plaza or the,
But it is a 2-day event.
Yeah, and Cinco de Mayo is a one-day event.
yes.
Right. And
But it does go till late at night, so there's that.
No, everything
Yeah, but
in this town at 8
they
o'clock.
don't stay.
Bands do.
Oh, the bands do too, yes.
She
But,
said 10 rooms or something,
right, I saw that.
so.
And I agree, and it's a big 1-day event. Smoking on the Plaza is a 2-day event, and the rodeo is a 2-day event.
Yeah, but they're here for 2 days, but as far as attendance to
Oh, okay.
watch the rodeo,
All right, we can, okay, let's try this. This is the first meeting since it's, I can make a motion, and I'm not making a motion, but I can make a motion that we take the 35,000 that we now have kind of come down to and put and ask that our evaluation then break it out that based on our sheets. If you don't like
I
that,
don't like
I
that.
don't like that.
okay, all right.
I don't like that because I think that we are looking to transition away from the evaluation sheet.
Okay.
Yeah. I
But
don't like the evaluation average just for the simple fact that I think that the 3 big events, I think we should fund the Lovington event for the 2000, the Love and Lovington. Because,
Okay. Let's do one at a time.
okay,
We can take number 5 off and just say, I make a motion that we fund the Chamber of Commerce at $1,700.
Yeah.
Their total request, 100%.
okay.
All right,
a second.
Okay. That you-
Okay. All those in favor of funding the Chamber of Commerce?
We can't do it, we can't do that yet. We haven't gone into action. We're still in non-action.
Okay.
We're still on the conditional.
Let's-
Sorry.
let's move
We were
on.
there one time. Okay.
Okay, let's move on to action items.
Well, wait a minute.
No, we're-
Anything else
On
on
the financial deal.
report?
no.
Okay.
Okay, now we can move.
Okay, now I'll entertain a motion for the Chamber
Consider-
of Commerce project.
No,
Now, consider distributing lodger's tax funds.
yeah,
That's where I'm at.
I know, but you've got to get to that point. You got to,
I make a motion that we consider distributing of lodger's tax funds to the event holders.
Okay. I second. Okay. So now we need to divide it up.
no, you have to call for a vote first.
I,
You've got a motion and a second on the floor.
Oh, we don't want to divide it up?
not yet.
No, we're just moving to this,
Okay.
whatever,
Gee, man, 20, wow.
not our first.
Well, no, it's not my first one, but my question, my thing is that usually we don't vote one at a time. Usually
I know.
it's considered,
We did, no, we've done it many times. A lot, but not.
but it's all in one motion.
And now we are.
I mean, it's part of this.
Okay, so all those in favor of considering and moving on?
I,
Okay. All those opposed?
All right, now,
Now I
I
entertain a
will
motion.
restate my I'll just remove my motion that, not remove it, sorry.
Got it?
I will move again on my motion.
I'll second again.
Okay,
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to fund the chamber project for $1,710. Is there any discussion or any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
okay.
Now I entertain a motion on the Livingston Rodeo.
I would prefer to go on to perhaps EDC or Main Street Smoking on the Plaza
Okay.
before we consider the rodeo.
All right, I will consider a motion on smoking on the plaza funding. For the second.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta get to the,
So I've got right now, I've got 33,290 is what we're looking at after the chamber.
how did you come up with that?
35 minus 17.
Oh, minus the 1710, gotcha, sorry, yes. Okay,
So Main Street. Their funding request is 24,848 and we're at 33,290, sorry.
How about,
Let's see.
restate yours, just say it a little louder, I want everybody here.
Please say it after that I'm struggling with it. So,
could we do 10 to each?
so if you did 10,
No.
wait,
Well, we could, yeah.
yeah, you could.
yeah, and then we could still do,
And we could still do the line
Minus, wait, 10, okay, then you've got 13,290 left, right? And then you would do, then that would be the rodeo and
Cinco de Mayo.
11 Lovington. Now, if you did 10 to Cinco, 10 to Main Street for Smoking on the Plaza, that
And
gives you
10 for the
30.
rodeo,
You would get 10 to the rodeo.
that'd be 30,000. That leaves you 5,000. You can
And
make
then
that.
3,000.
You want to know what I do? I would give 12 to Main Street, 12 to EDC, and I would only give about 8 to the rodeo.
Okay, hold on, that's
That's too
33,290
many.
minus
That was
12.
32.
Was that 32?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so 5 to the rodeo.
That would be 90, if you gave that, that would be 9290 left after Cinco and smoking.
Okay.
9290 is left.
Okay, so that would
Then-
give, but I don't think we need 7,000 for Lovington.
Well, if
Well-
you divide that by 2, you could get both of them 46, 45,
For the,
rodeo and Lovington.
Yeah, but the Lovington still doesn't have that much to do with tourism. And it's local.
I agree.
so give them 2 and get the rodeo.
Don't take it personal.
Yeah, hey, it's just local.
Okay,
Just give
so,
them the, I mean, 2,000.
okay, wait,
Are you good to stay on 2009?
Yeah.
Okay.
hold on, let me see if I've got that right. So
I mean, we haven't taken action.
Well, we better send this out to them. I'm not joking.
There's action to be taken, but it's not on the, okay,
That would give the rodeo 7290. That's all right.
I'll make a motion.
But on the rodeo,
You can put stipulation on this.
That it will have,
Okay, but you'll have
add
to.
to it.
Yeah, you'll have to do it in a motion so it gets in the minutes so that they can then get it. Okay, let's get the one out of the way.
The rodeo.
No. Loving.
The Loving
Motion that we fund Loving. That's tough to say. Lovington, $2,000 for this quarter.
I second.
And it's been moved and seconded to give Lovington $2,000 for this second quarter.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Just mine.
Yeah.
Okay, now then, that will, okay.
Now we're going to talk about.
Let's do back to your figures. It's 12.
12,000, okay.
No, that's not right.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, was it? Okay.
12, so you're gonna make a motion for Main Street Smoking on the Plaza for 12
And I'll make it for both of them.
and
Yeah.
EDC.
Yeah.
Well, no, because one of them we put stipulations on it.
No,
Oh, okay.
this is for smoking on.
I'm not doing it.
Okay.
We go to Milo.
I'll make a motion that we fund the Lovington EDC, Cinco de Mayo project, and the Lovington Main Street Smoking on the Plaza project at 12,000
each
for this quarter that we're dealing with.
for this third quarter.
For the third quarter.
I second.
Okay. You can't say.
No, I didn't, I said second quarter.
Oh.
Okay.
Third
Been
quarter.
moved and seconded
It's third quarter.
to fund Smoking on the Plaza, Lovington Main Street, and Cinco de Mayo, Lovington EDC, $12,000 apiece for the third quarter. All those in favor?
Wait. Any-
Any discussion?
No.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Okay.
Now we're going to the rodeo.
Now let me see if I can get this correct.
Yeah, you can make this motion.
I make a motion that we fund the Lovington Rodeo with the two stipulations. Number one, that they add Lovington on the promotional items,
Including the saddles and
everything. Any kind of promotional item should have Lovington on that. And number two is that they have a overnight stay, let me see what it says. Survey completed for all attendees and submitted back to Lodgers Tax Board.
Within a week.
Colleen, how much time do they have to submit their evaluation stuff? Is it 30 days after the event?
Yes.
What?
Yes, let me look at the evaluation form real quick. Make sure.
the 25th of the following.
By the 25th of the following month. For 7290.
So do you want that emailed to you guys
That
or,
work?
because we won't have a meeting until
Yeah.
June.
Yeah.
Well,
It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I'll get you a paper copy, sir.
No. I don't even work.
It won't be here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll second her motion.
Okay, moved and seconded that we fund the Lovington Rodeo, 7,200.
7290.
Highlands
I'm playing
Rodeo
through it.
Association, 7,290, with the stipulation that all promotional items say Lovington or Lovington Lodgers Tax, partially funded by, or at least our logo, Lovington Lodgers Tax logo on it. And that they do a survey for hotel stays to get their funding. So is that good?
Well, and yes, that they submit the surveys with their event evaluation by the 25th. of the phone. Yeah.
And
Is it the event evaluation form you want or like a lodger's?
Now, an overnight, what they call it, hold on. where's
and we'll
that?
need pictures of the saddles and stuff to show them.
This is the overnight lodging thing.
I don't think we have.
They can make one.
Okay. That's why I'm asking.
I don't care what it looks like, but they can make one. I know we had one that we made. And, yes, what's up?
We need to do it, it's just a little print on there, if I did buy one.
Okay, now we need to.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No,
No,
All those in favor?
I,
All those opposed?
No.
you
Madam,
got to
Madam Chair,
resign.
Yeah.
I officially announce my resignation from this board.
I can't do
So then I
that.
gotta advertise.
No, I'm just wanting in the minutes, so I don't have to write it up.
Yeah, we don't vote on that.
oh,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Yeah, you don't have to have a second or anything.
So,
Everybody
I'm going to add to your
home.
plate. Do apologize. Wayfinding, if you've heard of that project too.
No.
Oh, you're not getting any use for it.
Let's sign that.
Not